There we go. What is going on, everybody? Welcome into the Fantasy Coaches Podcast. I am your host, Coach Steve. We're back again. Week 2 has been another roller coaster ride and lots of injuries, but we got some things to talk about, especially with the Week 3 waiver wires, and that's kind of what we're here today, guys. We're here to help you guys pick up some players to help you fill out your roster spots that might be not going the way you want to, and just kind of help you guys out overall. And at the end, we'll have some cut and keep segments where some guys who might be questionable at the end of your roster will help you out and try to give you guys some players that can finally kick the bucket here. So let me introduce my co-host for this evening, as always, Coach Tibbs.
What it do, homie? What it do?
Good to see you, man.
Yeah. It's been a couple. I seen yesterday, though.
Yeah, we saw it.
But
it was a little horse racing, little football betting yesterday, little wings, little football, little drinks. It was a good day on Sunday, that's for sure.
Besides my bets, took 2 major L's, but keep it going.
Yeah, keep it going. Yeah, and again, it's only week 2 of the season, so don't panic just yet, guys. So for our episode today, we do have another guest, and our guest today is Phil. Phil, what is going on, buddy?
Hey, guys. Thanks for letting me join you guys today.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure finally getting to talk to you. Like I said, I mentioned before, I saw on Twitter a couple times, but I never really had a chance to talk to you, so definitely great to get you on the show.
Heck yeah, I know. I missed your guys' podathon. I was a brand new girl dad going on at that moment in time, so I didn't get to join here. I think I saw, the call out for some extra guests right when I got back from the hospital. So that was didn't really work out too well, but I am glad to be able to join you guys in season.
Absolutely. Jim, you were going to ask a question?
Yeah, what's that jersey you have behind you?
Oh, Brett Hall signed. Yeah, right. I got that one right after the Blues won the Stanley Cup for first time in freaking franchise history.
That's a nice shallow jersey right there.
And I was ecstatic, but I spent like less than $50 because all the players that were active on the team that won the Stanley Cup, they were all going for thousands. And then luckily some of the old school great guys were going for under the radar really cheap.
I like that a lot.
You guys and your hockey love there. But Phil, again, thanks for coming on, man. And before we get started, just let everyone know kind of what you do in the industry.
Yeah, right now I am doing a Friday show and writing for the FFFaceoff.com. So Friday we're previewing the slate of games coming up on Sunday, reacting a little bit to Thursday, and going through a lot of questions from listeners and viewers, right before games start, and everybody's twiddling with their lineups. And also I created the consistency score. Every offseason put out a consistency collection, kind of like a draft guide, but it's a consistency score that's a lot different than the other ones that are out there. One, the score itself, completely consistent. Math never changes. It doesn't matter if you're an RB1 1 week and an RB16. It matters about your fantasy output, actually. So the math never changes. The score itself is consistent. Also, a guy who scores between 4 and 6 points every single week is really super consistent, but doesn't help your fantasy team. So my score actually takes in, the ceiling of a player, and that is part of the math. And so the higher the consistency score, the higher the more often that player scores a high level of fantasy points on a weekly basis. So it's really easy to see. It's really easy to understand. The higher the score, the better. Same with the DPAC, defensive points allowed consistency. You get to look at each team defense versus each fantasy position, and the higher the DPAC score, the more often that defense allows a high level of fantasy points to that position on a weekly basis. So it's just something that's really easy, and the best part, you can use it across positions. It's a metric that actually works across positions. So if you're sitting there debating a flex play, you can take a look at 2 different, a wide receiver and a running back's consistency scores, and whoever's higher is probably your better bet to go with your flex spot.
Oh, that's awesome. That's really awesome.
Yeah. I like that.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I'm an analytic junkie, man. Like, I like to find the small things.
There you go. I hope I update it every week, man. So like, hit me up. I will walk you through it. If you have any questions, if I start hearing it on the show, you are going to make my day. I love it.
I'm definitely gonna have to check that out because I love consistency. I think that's half the time I use it. Write an article. Consistency is like my number one thing on anyone. So I love that. So if anyone listening, go check out Phil and check him out with his consistency guide. So I love that. All right. So we got some news to talk about. Again, it's not major news that we're going to go into detail because, we're still waiting to hear a lot of things. And until we find out if players are in and out yet, we're not going to go too much into detail. So some things, if you guys missed and you had a chance to watch Sunday games, Jarvis Landry, sprained MCL, good chance he could miss 2 to 3 weeks. But they did not rule him out for Sunday yet, so keep that in mind. But it's more than likely he's going to miss a couple of weeks. Andy Dalton misses out a serious injury, which is great, and the Bears have already said if he is ready to go on Sunday, he is going to play. So there's no just switch to Justin Fields just yet. Tua, my boy, bruised ribs. They're pretty painful. Again, he's another person. If he can start, he will play. Carson Wentz, 2 ankle sprains on both his ankles somehow. I don't know how you do that, I guess, but he has done it. And again, he's questionable for this weekend. He did not finish the game, and Jacob Easton had to play and threw a pick on the very first drive. Who else is here? The 49ers update. Elijah Mitchell, the big, $100 fat bib on everyone throw out there. He's day-to-day right now. Trey Sherman, he has in concussion protocol, and Jermichael Hasty is definitely out this week and could be out for a couple weeks as well afterwards with an injury as well. Derek Carr is questionable. Josh Jacobs is day-to-day right now. Deshaun Watson. We'll get to him in a second. Deontay Johnson avoided a major long-term knee injury. He got hurt on basically the last play of the game. If you watch, he was basically just sitting on the ground while everyone was just saying their, congrats and goodbyes basically during the game. Laviska Shenault also avoids a major shoulder injury, which is great. Tyrod Taylor is likely out probably 4 weeks, which will mean David Mills will be starting this Thursday, not Deshaun Watson. He's already been inactive for this game because coach. So I'm not seeing Deshaun Watson just yet. So that's most of the news. Again, a lot of injuries this week, guys. It was tough to watch. So let me just quickly go over what we did last week between me and Jibs. And, quickly, Jameis Winston, Teddy Bridgewater. Teddy Bridgewater did pretty good. Jameis, not so much. Elijah Mitchell had a touchdown called back. Mark Ingram, not so great. Neither was Carlos Hyde. Me and Jibs, we didn't really do too good on the RBs last week. But again, there was no really many RBs unless you picked up Cordell Patterson to really go after. So in terms of the wide receivers, KJ Hamler did nothing basically. Tim Patrick, Jibs called that right. Zach Pascal did pretty good. He caught a touchdown at least. Nelson Aguilar, not so great. Sterling Shepard did pretty well. Cedric Wilson, kind of not so great as well. And then for the tight ends, Jared Cook, Jibs called that. He had a decent outing. Wish he would have caught a touchdown. Would have made his day better. And Cole Kmet put another big fat 0 up. So we didn't have the best week last week. Again, it wasn't a great waiver wire segment. So that's why we're here today, and that's why we brought in Phil. So we do a better job this week instead of what we gave you guys last week. So we're going to start with the quarterbacks to pick up this week. Our top pickup for quarterback. Phil, who do you got?
So right now, it looks like he's still going to play. But Derek Carr, I saw, was only rostered in 29% of leagues. I can't believe that. Over the first 2 weeks, he's racked up 817 passing yards and 4 touchdowns. That's more passing yards than any other QB in the NFL right now, prior to Monday night, but it's probably a safe bet. And he's tied for 8th in touchdowns already. The run game's been meh at best. We don't know what's going on with Josh Jacobs yet. The Raiders are leaning on Carr and Waller to carry that offense. And next up is Miami, who just got dismantled by the Bills for 35-0. They look nowhere near as imposing as the Steelers' D that he just carved up. I love Derek Carr going into week 3.
All right, so you got to leave now. You can't talk bad about Miami on this show. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I saw that flag behind you. I knew that wasn't going to necessarily go over all that well, but
I can respect when our team doesn't play well. So, but yeah, Derek Carr has basically just defined odds in fantasy right now and has been putting up fantastic fantasy numbers against some pretty good defenses over the first 2 weeks. So you should have faith in picking him up as another week here. Jibs, I don't know if you're still there or if your mic is just just out.
I'm still here. I don't know what happened.
No, your camera's out, but you're gone now too for sure. So while Jibs comes back in here, I'll go real quick, guys. So my quarterback pickup of the week this week is Sam Darnold. He's only owned in like 11% of fantasy leagues when I combine them all together. And Sam Darnold surprisingly has been playing really well right now this season. I mean, he's been solid. I mean, you talked about Sam Darnold in the past. It was like garbage, but he's got the weapons around him. I guess that's what the Jets should have done in the first place, is give him weapons, because he's had 20 and 19 fantasy points in back-to-back games now and 4-point per passing touchdowns. And he plays the New Orleans Saints this week, which he put a really good game against them. And now against the Houston Texans, quick turnaround on Thursday Night Football. They've allowed fantasy points to kind of flow through that defense there. Baker Mayfield and who was the first one? Trevor Lawrence both had over 20 fantasy points in their games here. So if you're looking for a quarterback, if you're streaming the position, Sam Darnold is the way to go this week, guys. Yes, Jibs, I know. Weird to say out loud. But who do you guys for QB play?
Mine was Derek Carr as well, and then I wanted to find a backup, and it was Sam Darnold. So I like both those picks, guys. Derek Carr is like surprisingly his ownership is too low for what he's performing. He's definitely top 8 in quarterbacks this year, and I'm just gonna stick with another guy I said last week who's highly owned in Yahoo, but Kirk Cousins. He's been pretty spectacular too so far. He's 9th in quarterback scoring per week. Obviously, ESPN, his ownership is way lowered, but I like Kirk Cousins as like the third guy compared to the other two, because Darnold and Carr are on some scorching earth compared to like what their play status has been historically.
Yeah, I can't disagree. That's another great option. Kurt's been on fire lately. A couple others, just real quick. Matt Ryan has the Giants this week. That's a pretty decent matchup. Daniel Jones has the Falcons this week. If he can kind of keep that rushing floor going, that's great. Big Ben's also out there as well. For those in like Dynasty or Deeper Man leagues or Superflex leagues, Jacoby Brissett is also an option if Tua can't play. Davis Mills, if he's out there, he's an option, obviously, if you're desperate. Another desperate option if Derek Carr can't go, Nathan Peterman possibly. So just keep your eye on the quarterback situation. Jacob Easton, these are all like deep league, super flex leagues that if you need a quarterback, they're all probably available in most of your leagues. So just keep those guys in your mind as well. So
one more guy that I saw was only rostered in about 24% leagues was Teddy Bridgewater, surprisingly, and they got the New York Jets coming up in Week 3. So that's another lovely matchup. And he's got 590 something yards and 4 touchdowns in 2 weeks. So he's been another dude who's just been rocking it.
Yes, thank you, Phil. I had missed him on my list here, so thank you so much, because Teddy Bridgewater is definitely a guy that is just, I think if I'm not mistaken, he's got the most like 20 plus passes in the league or so far this year. He's got the cannon this year, apparently, after being a conservative short targeted quarterback, apparently, but now he's not. He's got the cannon, apparently. So we lost Chips again, but we'll get him back in a second. So we'll head over to the RB pickups. And again, just like last week, it's not really great out there. But there could be gems that might possibly scoop up for the future, basically, right now. So, Phil, who's your first RB?
My first one's probably going to be everybody's first claim if they need a running back off the waiver wire, and that's Cordarrelle Patterson. 54 rushing yards last week, 58 yards received, or 54 rushing yards, week 1, 58 yards receiving plus 2 touchdowns this past week. Easily the clear-cut guy behind Mike Davis, and honestly kind of looks better than Mike Davis, in my opinion. I think he's got, no matter what, I think he's got a standalone value just in the role that he's playing too, especially if it's PPR scoring. New York Giants next week ranked 14th in DPAC against the running back, so it's not great, but it's not bad. It's not a bad matchup either. So that would be the first guy I'd be going after on waivers.
No, I like that one a lot there. Well, I don't like it a lot, but it's a good play, that's for sure. It makes sense. I mean, he just seems to be involved in the offense more than we thought he was going to be. So it makes a lot of sense there, to be honest. It's interesting. He's like,
like I said, especially in PPR formats, I think he could be a pretty regular flex play.
Right, exactly. So I like it in that sense that as an RB, we need an RB. That's a good pickup this week. So, Jibs, what about you, my friend? How about your first one?
He's a little highly rostered. I know he's close to that 40% mark. It's about 35 between Yahoo and ESPN. But J.D. McKissick, I'm looking up at some of the football teams' next couple of opponents, like Buffalo, like New Orleans, if they get their act together, Kansas City, Green Bay. Those teams, I feel like the Washington football team are going to have to keep up in the games, and I think he'll be having a better utilization, especially given what their quarterback situation is right now. Like Taylor Heineke is kind of limited. Like doesn't really throw to the left side. He seems like he just has an eye for McLaurin. Tight ends when he's not overthrowing them, but it seems like J.D. McKissick could have a good role carved out for him. So I know he's not like your average starter, but so he's a guy who could pay some dividends throughout the season.
Yeah, I know people probably got burned on him this past Thursday when no one probably started him and he went off for a big game, but I think he needs to be at least rostered on your bench because he's obviously having a role in this offense here. It's not going away that we all thought when we were drafting Antonio Gibson in the first round or late second round or early second round. So I like that one there too.
Still shocking to me that they're not using Gibson more, but
it's wild.
He's still learning the position apparently. So
I don't know what that means.
She's got to be there. She's got to be there. All right, let's see here. My first one, I don't even like it to be honest here, but what?
It's a yucky week on waivers.
It's a yucky week, yeah, it is. There's no clear-cut guy, but Alexander Mattison, he's owned in 31% of leagues overall combined, and you saw Dalvin Cook get banged up back-to-back weeks now, or back-to-back in the same game actually, within the same couple drives, and again, if that continues, it's just a matter of time before Dalvin Cook gets hurt and Alexander Mattison has to go in there. You might as well go out there and in a week where there's no good running backs and pick up a guy who could end up being a league winner if, God forbid, something happens to Dalvin Cook. And he's going to be someone who's going to probably see 15 carries. You couldn't say that probably about a third of the league's backups because they're likely not going to go into a committee. They probably give Alexander Mattison, for the most part, the workload. So, again, he's owned 31% of leagues. It's not as easy to get him, but if he's out there, I think he needs to be at least rostered on your bench over the next few weeks to see kind of what happens with him, or if anything, pick him up to trade him to the Dalvin Cook owner and see if he can get something back from it, because who doesn't love a good trade when you just pick him off waivers? So he is my first waiver pickup.
Amen. And like I always, if I can, I shove anybody I can down to an IR spot, or if I already have an empty roster spot, the first thing I do before Sunday kickoffs is I grab a running back that is like, if running back A goes down, we know that this guy is the plug and play. I always try to stash those guys on my roster whenever I have an open spot.
That is a perfect strategy, because I'm sure me and Jibs both use that to our advantage as much as possible as well. So I like that there. Before we keep going, guys, just so everyone knows, it is under 40% availability. So just if you guys were questioning what our availabilities were, it's under 40%. So anything higher than that, if you see someone that shouldn't be out there, probably should be picking them up. But these are guys strictly under the 40% mark. So Phil, you go with your second one here now.
Well, like you guys were talking about, it's ugly for running backs already on the waiver wire. So I went really ugly. I went extra ugly. Trenton Cannon, 1% rostered. Let's face it, the 49ers, Trey Sermon, concussion. Jermichael Hasty, ankle. Elijah Mitchell, shoulder. Jeff Wilson still not coming back for another week or two. Cannon might just end up being the running back through attrition for Kyle Shanahan. And anytime you have a running back that's getting the majority of the workload, we've seen it, equate fantasy success. So if there's nothing else there, Trenton Cannon looks like he might be the guy. Granted, going into the weekend, all the injury reports are going to be really important to see if any of these guys are coming back and playing Sunday. But he might be the last dude there. And so if I can, that's a guy in a super deep league that I'm willing to stash as well.
Yeah, no, and he's probably, I know they brought in Kerryon Johnson. I know Duke Johnson and Lamar Miller made visits, but Trent Cannon knows the offense the best in a week advance. So They saw him against if you watch him against the Ravens, he didn't look horrible. So 49ers know how to play running backs, at least. So I think that's a good pickup there. Jibs, my friend, what do you got?
Oh, my second one probably would be Madison, but just to go a little bit lower, I'll put up Ty Johnson. And I know picking a Jets running back isn't pretty in any circumstances. You still have Michael Carter lingering, but this seems like the Jets, even in a bad game script like that, they kind of consolidated a little bit. They had Tevin Coleman had reduced touches, so you saw basically Ty Johnson get the majority of the carries, and I think it was like a by one attempt on Michael Carter. Obviously, we all think Michael Carter was like a very good long-term pick, but still in a short-term window. And unfortunately, bye weeks are coming up, and God forbid you have to start someone. But just keep Ty Johnson in mind, and just keep that Jets running back backfield split in mind as the season progresses. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Jets head coach did say that they're playing the hot hand, so if Ty Johnson can stay hot, he'll be involved in this offense for sure. Because he was my second one, but this is tough now.
It turns out real fast.
It's tough. It's like after one, not even the first one. Like as I said, RB pickups. That was when it went downhill. But Darrell Williams, Kansas City Chiefs backup running back. I guess is my next pickup here, and for the reason is that we saw Clyde look inefficient once again, and he fumbled late in a pretty critical game, even though I just traded for him. Who knows what's going to happen there? Maybe they try to get someone else more involved, and they don't like what they're seeing from Clyde Edwards-Helaire enough to keep him on the field. Darrell Williams, he did get the touchdown on the goal line. Again, it wasn't anything spectacular because he had negative yards on the day, but maybe they try to walk him in. At times, he was able to produce some kind of fantasy numbers. And again, he's basically unowned in most leagues. So if you're looking for maybe a desperate shot play to throw on your bench to see what might happen, Darrell Williams might be that guy for you. So he's my next pickup.
I definitely think that they don't trust CEH in the red zone.
I don't know.
We're seeing that for 2 years now in a row. So,
or in the passing game, apparently.
That one's still bizarre. He was really good at that in LSU.
Yeah, like 57 receptions in his like senior year. It was like perfect, or junior year, whatever it was. He had a great season, but for some reason,
a good offense.
Kansas City don't really want to do that. So, all right. So just a couple other guys real quick. I mean, I had Jermichael Hasty, but again, if he's out, you really don't want to be picking him up. Savon Ahmed did have more carries than everyone else on the Dolphins in that game. Again, it was grave script probably. Kenny Gainwell, if he's still out there, it's definitely worth a pickup. He's still under that 40 mark. Carlos Hyde, just as a backup. Peyton Barber, if, God forbid, Josh Jacobs out again, he's a possibility. Chuba Hubbard, we saw CMC kind of go down for a second with some hamstring issues or cramps, so he could be an option. He could be a league winner if he gets in the right situation. Kerryon Johnson, if he ends up sticking with the team and they need him. And Jeff Wilson, if Jeff Wilson's out there, guys, go pick up Jeff Wilson. And if you have an IR spot, pick him up, throw in your IR, and then pick someone else up, because I think when he comes back, he might see the carries.
Absolutely. If you have an IR spot, pick up Jeff Wilson, put him on your IR, then pick up Trenton Cannon.
Win-win.
Exactly. It's a win-win. So if he's out there, go pick him up, because at this point, I think they can't trust anybody to run the ball efficiently. And Jeff Wilson, we've seen him run the ball efficiently. So if he's out there, go pick him up. So, all right, guys. So over to our wide receiver pickups of the week here. Phil, who's your first wide receiver pickup?
All right, so you guys mentioned him earlier. It makes me really nervous with the double ankle sprain going on with Wentz, but I think still Zach Pascal, 36% rostered. I think he's still worth a grab because, 90+% of the offensive snaps over the first 2 weeks, 11 targets, 3 touchdowns over that time. Next week they play the Tennessee Titans. Tyler Lockett just took advantage of that secondary for 178 yards and a touchdown. They rank 9th in DPAC versus wide receivers, so it's a top 10 matchup. They're going to have to do something by getting the ball into their playmakers' hands and letting them do the work if Carson Wentz is not available. So I think that means a lot of yards after catch available possibly for Pascal. Not really. That's not really Pittman's game. Pittman's more of a possession guy. So I think that he might be a desperation flex if you really need that wide receiver in a PPR league.
No, I definitely like that one a lot there. I mean, I've always said that Pascal is the most underrated wide receiver in fantasy football over the last 4 years because he's consistent, but he just doesn't have the QB to get him over the edge. But he's been consistent, and that's the important part.
And it's a lot more exciting if Wentz comes back.
Yes, and hopefully the ankle injuries heal by Sunday, or at least another week if he happens to miss one game. So I know Jim is smiling over there. You want Carson Wentz to play, man. You want that first round.
I do want him to play, and Pascal was my third guy, so I got to come up with someone on the fly.
Brady, Pay Ashton, the leader over at On Rap Sports Network, man. He's a great guy. If you're not over there looking at their stuff, guys, they're a great network that we're a part of as well. He's a leader over there, Perry. What's up, Perry? A little advertising there for him. Let's see here, Jibs. Who's your first guy?
I'm going to go with Rondale Moore, and for me, I will love another week or two before I'm plugging him into my lineups. But he's shown great utilization over the last 2 weeks, especially with the weapons they have within that offense. He has 11 catches on 182 yards over the last 2 weeks, and shown that he could be a good PPR play with a small role given the offense, but still just beware. Like, he only has played 28 snaps. That's the highest snap count he had over the last 2 weeks. He had 20 in week 1. So obviously his role in the offense still needs to grow. But I think as a long-term play, I think Rondale Moore could be great, given like what we've seen in the short passing game with the Cardinals offense. And obviously AJ Green, Christian Kirk, like it's going to be a long season. So I wouldn't think those guys are going to stay anybody could get hurt, but I'm saying like his role could definitely get even elevated given the nature, and especially since the Cardinals like to run 4 wide receiver sets. So he's out there.
He actually played 46% of the snaps this past week. Did get a bigger snap share. So he's worth a pickup for sure. He's and I mentioned it on Twitter earlier, he's a big boomer bust guy because he might give you a very mediocre week, but he has that potential to be a big game breaker week in and week out. So he's definitely a top waiver pickup for sure. Let's see, because that was my number 1 too. But now let me see who we got here. I'm going to go with KJ Osborne from the Minnesota Vikings here, guys. And he's a name who no one really knew about coming into the season here. You had to have really done your homework, or you'd rather be really big into Dynasty to understand, if anything, than to really know him. But he's had really solid back-to-back weeks now. And it just seems at this point the Minnesota Vikings are a team that just can't stop anybody in the air. They really just can't. They continually just get destroyed in the air, which forces them to probably pass the ball more times than they need. The only thing that concerns me with him that he did play less snaps this past week than he did the week before, especially in a blowout situation here. But he definitely deserves a pickup. I mean, he's somebody over the last 2 weeks now who's had 9 targets, 6 targets, and over 70 yards in both games here, double-digit fantasy points. He's worth a pickup to see if that continues, and if it does, you might have yourself a valuable wide receiver 3, and if anything, you pick him up to trade him, honestly, and see if someone else really wants to buy into that hype that he's showing there. We've seen these guys early on in the season who have all this hype, but end up not continually able to do it throughout the entire season here. I think he's definitely worth a pickup. I'm not going nuts about it, but if you can get him on your team and see maybe he breaks out, or if not, trade him away into someone who might believe in that. So Osborne's my guy.
Well, Osborne was also my guy. Dang it.
Dude, so we're going to be talking about the rest of the guys.
Why, you see me over here doing a real quick research.
Yeah. Going off the Rondale Moore point, AJ Green's also lowly rostered too. So if you want an established guy, look at him.
That's honestly a great option as well, Jim. I was going to mention him too, but I love it. AJ Green as well is a great option because he's gotten 6 targets in back-to-back games. He's not like he's not seeing the work. It just hasn't clicked yet. So Phil, what is your number 2 guy?
All right. So
number 2.
Had to do a quick pivot, but luckily I noticed that Darius Slayton is still under 40% when I'm going through the Sleeper app. And that's a dude, he's seen 13 targets over the past 2 weeks, 7 and then 6. Let's face it, Kenny Galladay is not looking nearly as polished as he has in his past in Detroit. So Daniel Jones has got to go to somebody else. We've seen Sterling Shepard be a PPR darling already in 2 weeks this year. I think Darius Slayton can continue also to kind of be pretty fantasy relevant, especially if Kenny Golladay just keeps looking iffy at best. Next week they got the Atlanta Falcons going on. I'm looking at my DPAC score over at FF Faceoff, and Atlanta Falcons are the 5th highest DPAC score, averaging 41 fantasy points to the wide receiver position, which is 10th most in the league since week 12, at least of last season. So I think that's a good matchup for them as well. So Darius Slayton might be able to, cover in a pinch.
Yeah, no, he has that. I think he has that downfield ability that Daniel Jones loves. So if you continually find a way to connect to him, he has a big potential to his game for sure. Let's see. What do I have here? My next guy here is a guy that Jib said last week, and Tim Patrick. He's still not owned, so he needs to be a guy that needs to be owned at this point, I think. Back-to-back touchdown games. He plays the New York Jets this week. He's involved in this offense, and he's turning into that Zach Pascal type where, he's just consistent. He might not put up big weeks for you, but he's going to give you consistent, decent numbers week in and week out. And, again, they have the Jets this week. Then they have Baltimore and Pittsburgh and the Raiders. Matchups where they're going to probably have to throw the ball from playing from behind, and Tim Patrick is as consistent as it gets in terms of a decent overall wide receiver. So for me, he's my number 2 guy this week that you can pick up and probably plug in as a flex option for your most weeks, honestly.
Yeah, to be honest with you, if I would have realized that he was still available, that would have been my number 2 guy. But he's on my team, so I didn't see him in my little list that I pulled up.
That's how I do my things too. I have to go through 5 or 6 leagues and make sure who's available. I love it. So a couple other guys real quick here. Freddie Swain, he's owned in 0% of leagues. He had a big game without Dwayne Eskridge in the game. Hunter Renfrow is always there still. Brian Pringle had a decent game. Brian Edwards, still a big possibility if he can break out. KJ Hamler, a guy who I had, he's still there, but I'm not as thrilled anymore. Amon St. Brown, with Terrell Williams out tonight, he could end up being a guy that actually jumped to my list, honestly, if he ends up having a great game. Quez Watkins has a big play potential. Braxton Berrios continues. He seems to be able to be a consistent option in New York if Jameson Crowder continues to not be playing. Again, we just talked about Jarvis Landry not being there. Rashard Higgins down from Peoples-Jones. Anthony Schwartz with no Odell possibly again. One of these guys have to break out. Again, who knows who, but if you're looking for possibilities, those guys are a good way to go. Elijah Moore is being dropped. It gets enough that he's under 40% now. He had a decent outing. He should get better as the season goes on. And if something happens to Deontay Johnson where he's not playing for a couple of weeks, if that's the case, James Washington kind of pops in. So,
Emmanuel Sanders.
Emmanuel Sanders, is he under there? Is he under the 40?
Oh, for sure.
Is he? I don't know. Maybe he is. I don't know. I must have missed it. So, Emmanuel Sanders, guys, for sure. He plays the Dolphins this week. So, all right. So, tight end pickups now, guys. This is the end here. Almost the end, actually. But who do you have as a tight end pickup? Because they suck this week. So, Phil, who you got?
You already talked about him burning you guys last week, but here I am to double down. I'm trying to trust in the process.
I know you're talking
Cole
about.
Kmet. It's gross. It feels icky. I don't like it. But one of the plus sides is right now he's right at that 40% mark, so he just made the cusp. I bet he gets dropped a ton this week. So if he's not available in your league and you have just a garbage tight end option, I bet by Wednesday, Thursday, he is available in your league. You guys talked about him goose egging you this week. It was not pretty. He's averaging 73% of the offensive snaps in the first 2 weeks compared to just 27% from Jimmy Graham. So clearly Cole Kmet's the guy on the field. If there's options, if there's opportunities, it's going to be him. He's got the matchup versus the Cleveland Browns. They have the highest DPAC score versus all of tight ends. I know we talked about Andy Dalton. I know we talked about Justin Fields. I really hope Andy Dalton is not healthy and he's not the starting quarterback. And if so, I think then it's even better for Cole Kmet going into week 3. So a good matchup, hopefully an upgrade at quarterback, at least a more dynamic quarterback. And I just got to trust with that process if I'm going to stream the tight end position off waivers this week.
And I respect that for sure, Cole Kmet. I love Cole Kmet. I really hope he really has that kind of season after
I liked him a lot coming out of the draft. Gross
situation
landing spot.
You just got to get rid of Nick Nagy already, and we'll be happy. Things will get better in Chicago if that's the case. So,
Yeah.
all right, Jeff, who you got?
That was my number one. I'm just going to pivot to Pat Fairmouth. We saw him have an elevator role comparatively to what he had week 1. He played a little bit. I guess he had a little bit more production than Eric Ebron in week 2, going against the Bengals. So defense. So it's just a Hail Mary, but you maybe want a guy like that throughout the season on the long stretch. You never know.
Especially if Deontay Johnson's out, it could be a possibility. He has played more snaps than Ebron, so I mean, I know he's more blocking tight end at times, but he's definitely a possibility that he ends up emerging for sure. So I like that. My guy is Dan Arnold. They do play the Houston Texans this week, Carolina Panthers. They've allowed the 3rd most tight end yards so far over the first 2 weeks of the season here now, and Sam Darnold has seemed to look really good. So yeah, if that's the case here, it could be a week where I have a timer going off. It could be a really great week for him to actually have a breakout game or at least a decent outing. If you really do stream the tight end position, I wouldn't go out of my way to go get him, but if you're streaming the position to that hardcore, he could end up being a really good filtered option for you this week. So that's who my guy is. And then just a couple other guys I could name out here. Max Williams had a good outing last week. I forget who they play this week, but they always seem to be in shootout situations. Albert O seems to be more involved in this offense without Jerry Jeudy. Dawson Knox, caught a touchdown last week. David Njoku and Harrison Bryant could be options as well. If it seems like when Jarvis Landry left, it was the tight end show there in Cleveland, so they could be options for you this week as well. It really, who knows who's going to be the tight end, who's catching the balls at all? It seems like at this point, but those guys could be options in your deeper man leagues if you're looking for someone to play for tight end this week. They could be options. So. All right, and then the last segment here, guys, real quick, keep or cut. And you guys don't know who these players are. Should be really fun to get your guys' brain real quickly here on these guys. So we have about 12 people real quick. Start with the first one. Keep or cut Phillip Lindsay?
Cut. Yeah.
Cut. Yes.
Especially that offense was surprisingly frisky with Tyrod Taylor under quarterback, but not anymore.
No, not at all. No. Tyrod was good, too. I feel so bad for him. But Latavius Murray.
Oh, keep. Absolutely keep.
I'm keeping him, too.
Okay. Just want to get your opinion on him out there. People are looking to cut him. Michael Carter. I'm keeping Michael Carter.
I already cut him, but I have
he's going to break out eventually.
But I'm going to pick him up.
I'm keeping him.
Cutting too.
I got to keep him.
Ty Johnson had 12 carries last week. Wow.
So did Michael Carter get 12 carries. And he called passes at least. He called passes. He's going to be the main guy.
This means that Michael Carter should have had 24.
He will at some point. It's going to break out at some point. You just got to wait a little bit. Tony Jones Jr.
I want to cut
think you can cut him, honestly, if you need to. If you need a spot and you need something, cut him.
I think I'd rather have somebody with some real upside.
Yeah, I have Michael Carter.
I'd rather have Michael Carter for sure. All right, Ronald Jones, keep or cut?
I don't have to because I never drafted him.
I respect it. I don't have him either.
I have one share, and I want to cut him.
I think I'm cutting him. Yeah.
I think if you need to cut him, you can. But yeah, I mean, he's like a long shot play because he could break out any week. But you never know if it's ever going to come. You likely will never start him during that breakout week. So it's better off to let someone else handle that. And then
right, exactly. Would you start Rojo or Cordarrelle Patterson even?
Probably Cordarrelle Patterson right now. That's how bad it's getting.
Yep.
But that's at Bucksfield, yeah. And they play the Rams this week, so you definitely don't want to be starting Jones this week. So, Gio Bernard, cut.
I want none of those guys.
I want nothing.
Yeah. I think I'm cutting the entire Bucs backfield.
Yeah, and I could too. I would do it. Robbie Anderson.
Who's that?
Bob Anderson.
Oh, that one kills me.
I'm okay to cut him, honestly.
I'm too exposed to him.
I'm keeping.
This is the live tilt.
You had it one way or the other.
I think I'm keeping for now. I'm keeping one more week. One more week.
Okay.
If he doesn't get targets after this week, I'm done.
All right. Devontae Parker.
without Tua cut, with Tua keep.
I like that.
All right. Jalen Reagor. Or Rager, however you want to say.
He's barely 40%.
Just saying, people might have him on the roster.
I'm gonna keep. Like, he had at least 5 targets the last 2 games. He just didn't do anything. Like, basically the whole
I would keep
him. Didn't do nothing. So
I keep him. So
I like that.
Yeah, I think I'm keeping him.
Gabriel Davis.
Peace.
Ooh, yeah.
Unfortunately, I think I might end up saying cut 2, even though I've been the biggest Gabriel Davis fan all season, but it's just not looking right now.
I was too. I went heavy on him on the offseason.
Same.
In a one fantasy app where you actually buy stocks of players called Prediction Strike, and
Nice.
yeah, he did not. That did not pan out.
Darrell Mooney.
Keep.
Yeah, I'm keeping.
Jacoby Myers.
You could do better, but
I'd keep him.
I'll keep him.
Yeah, I think you've got to keep him also because he's gotten 15 targets over the past 2 weeks. I mean, especially if you're in a PPR format, I'm keeping.
Right.
He's a safe floor play.
He is. Laviska Shenault.
I'm keeping him. I can't let him hit the waivers. I don't know.
If I draft him in the first 10 rounds, I have to keep him for another week and see what happens. Maybe go on IR or something.
Urban Meyer's a clown.
That's the thing. He's another guy with 16 targets over the past 2 weeks. He should be a really good, solid floor play, but this offense just is a hot mess. I think I'm keeping as long as this is only a week or 2 injury. I'm not holding him for longer than a week, probably.
He had 7 targets but negative yards in the game.
How is that possible?
Or my offense. Elijah Moore. Keep.
Yeah.
What?
No, I think I'm okay to cut him.
Okay.
I mean, that seems to be Corey Davis's world.
And they still got to add Keelan Cole and Crowder to the mix, too. So, actually, I might cut.
I'm still keeping him for now. Russell Gage.
That's my guy. That's a cut, too.
But
Yeah.
done with him. Matt Ryan's not supporting 3 players. It's not happening.
Yeah, I'm going to cut
Better
him.
score once.
I mean, Matt Ryan's not supporting 2 players right now, so.
Not really that great.
And just supporting Cordell Patterson.
And then this is the big one here at the end. Marquez Callaway.
Oh,
Ooh.
peace. Get out of here. See ya.
All right, we're cutting him. Okay. I feel like I want to give him some faith still. There's got to be something that offense that got to click with something at some point. If you need to cut him, but I'd prefer to keep him.
It's called Jameis Winston.
Yeah, I want it. Yeah, I think I'm keeping him. I think I'm still keeping him one more week.
I want to see one more week of action with him. It has to be something that gives at some point. So
The Saints' offense from week 1 to week 2 is just so totally polar opposite. I really don't know what to do with them at all. They're they're like the highlight of an unsolved mystery episode from 1994. I don't know what's going on.
It's not an offense I really want to be a part of, but it is what it is for now.
Hey, if Alvin Kamara can't score 5 points on that team, I don't want no one else. I'll tell you that much, especially in PPR. Get out of here. Or
That's
half
so
point, I don't know.
That's so bad. Ugh. All right, well, that is our end of our keep and cut segment, guys. I'm going to wrap things up here. Phil, appreciate you coming on, man. You've been a great guest, man. It's a pleasure talking to fantasy with you.
Hell yeah! Thank you guys for having me. It's been a blast. I'm happy to join you anytime.
Absolutely. We'll definitely get you back on in the future for sure. But let everyone know, again, where they can find you on social media and if you have anything else you want to throw out there for your guys' stuff.
For sure. At Dumpster Dive FF on Twitter. That's really all the social media I've got. But you can find my weekly consistency corner piece and all my consistency scores and everything on fffaceoff.com. And I also co-host the Friday pod with them. So, subscribe and bookmark that site, especially, again, the consistency scores. I update them weekly as soon as we get the Monday Night Football info. So that is one of, I think, the best tools out there for, flex decisions and stuff like that.
Awesome. So give him a follow, guys. Check out his work for sure. Again, fantastic guest on today. So as always, guys, go check out our website at www.thefantasycoaches.com. We got a lot of fun things going over there. We have episodes 4 days a week now. A lot of fun things out there. We're hoping to get a little bit more in terms of the articles out there, which we will get you guys during the season here a little bit more. I know we've slacked on those a little bit, but we'll get those going for you guys. As always, our rankings are on there as well, and you can always follow us on Twitter, Coaches Fantasy. If you want to hit up me or Jibs personally, hit us up for some fantasy questions, whatever it may be. You can do that over at Coach Stephen P.
Take control.
So give us a follow, guys. Follow everyone here. Thank you guys for listening, and tune in until next time. We'll be back on Thursday to talk start and sits for week 3. Enjoy the rest of your week 2, and see you guys on Thursday.
Come on, Aaron Jones. Come on.